Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from, esteemed colleagues and fellow UKFIET attendees. I would like to firstly thank you for taking the time to find out more about my research, my poster, and my thesis in general on the fascinating topic of ways of being multilingual in a monolingual state. My name is Zaheera Rajab, and I'm a master's student at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. I was given the amazing opportunity to teach English in France as an assistant teacher from 2020 to 2021 through the French Institute of South Africa. It was during my stay in France that I was confronted with a very familiar issue: multilingual students being taught a monolingual education, or at best, monolingual education plus additional foreign languages taught during specified class times. There were also underlying ideologies like the dominance of French present in the school space that I was very, very curious about. Thus, my study centered on a diverse group of young adults, both native French students and migrant students, who were completing a post-high school diploma in rural France, where linguistic diversity often goes unnoticed or becomes invisible due to this monolingual education system. This system, which perpetuates Franco-normativity, which is the norm of only using French in French spaces, overlooks the intricate web of languages shaped by colonial history, migration, globalization, and refugee crises. To explore the participants' diverse linguistic repertoires, I used the language portrait exercise, in which the participants use colors, shapes, and body parts to visually represent their languages on the portrait's body. You can see the languages on the left side of this portrait over here, and the corresponding colors on the portrait body, which represent the languages. The participants completed both a portrait at school as well as a portrait at home, which represented their school languages and their home languages. This methodology and the conceptual framework follow much of Brigitte Busch's work on the expanded understanding of linguistic repertoires. The data was viewed through a post-structuralist and sociocultural lens, considering mobility, how speakers are hyperconnected in our globalized world, as well as each participant's lived experience of language. If you are interested, you're welcome to read through my research questions over here. During the interviews, my participants and I reflected on their linguistic repertoires, their diversity, their language ideologies, as well as, to my surprise, their language ontologies. This was a novel outcome of the language portrait exercise, and it lends an interesting perspective to the data. If you're unfamiliar with these terms, essentially language ontologies refer to what someone understands a language is, and language ideologies refer to how languages are used, by whom, and for whom. Basically, language within the dynamics of power. These are naturally intertwined and dependent on factors like schooling, state ideologies, and even intergenerational family language practices. So, with this in mind, the findings of the study were both very enlightening and thought-provoking. Firstly, the process of revealing the language portraits and their linguistic repertoires, both to the participants themselves as well as to each other, led to two main conclusions. Number one, the participants had a richness of linguistic diversity previously unknown to them, and sharing their linguistic repertoires with their peers made the group aware of this richness as well. The participants used language in agentive ways, embodying language practices and incorporating translanguaging practices influenced by their social interactions, social media, multimedia, and their unique migration and language learning journeys. Okay. Secondly, the process revealed the participants' language ontologies and ideologies in relation to those of France. Some language ontologies and ideologies reflected those of France, but others, notably those of participants from the Global South, as well as participants' home language practices, so those included both Global South and Global North learners, were considerably different to those of France. Ontologies and ideologies from France reflected the Global North, focusing on language competency and the idea of elevated languages like French, English, and other European languages, as opposed to regional or minority languages. Unspoken policy and Franco-normativity in schools led to minority languages and regional languages becoming invisible or intentionally being hidden by speakers for fear of being othered. Being othered made participants feel as if they didn't belong in France or in their school spaces, And this was particularly felt by the non-white participants, even if they had spoken French their entire lives. This led to the conclusion that being a francophone is not enough to feel a sense of belonging in France, despite the importance of French as the national language. This data also pointed to possible neo-colonial educational links between France as a previous colonial power and its previous colonies through French as a hegemonic language, and thus as a language of teaching and learning across the francophone world. The implications of these findings are far-reaching, as many countries across Europe face problems similar to France with regards to integration of migrants. The findings of this thesis could extend to the experiences of other migrants across the region. Thus, similar research could aid in understanding the current situation in this region and how the global north could more effectively welcome migrants who will inevitably keep seeking out better opportunities for themselves. Also, conducting similar sharing exercises amongst peers can normalize Global South epistemologies, ontologies, and ideologies of language in other Global North spaces, thereby empowering those Global South learners. But institutionally, these epistemologies also need to be normalized and included in the curriculum when we talk about language and literacy pedagogy. Thank you so much for listening. And unfortunately, I'm not able to be at the conference in person, but I really look forward to engaging with all of you further online and beyond. Of course, if you have any questions at all, you're welcome to post them here on this platform or on the conference platform itself. Also, if you feel that anyone in your circle could benefit from hearing about my research, please feel free to share this link with them, and they are always, always welcome to reach out to me themselves. Thank you so much.